Some folks will like you and some that just won't. Some that stay real and some that just don't. Trying to fit in will only take you so far. You'll never find home trying to change who you are. So don't spend your whole life trying to be what you ain't. Can't hide your heart with a new coat of paint. You think they'll accept you, I promise they can't. So just be who you are, forget what they think. So just be who you are and forget what they think.
Welcome to Vet with a Mic, content driven by Veterans Issues. So today we are talking to an outstanding member of the veteran community. She is a Army veteran and the founder of She Vets It. So tell us, how you doing today?
I'm doing fine. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, the pleasure is all mine, I assure you. So we first crossed paths, like many things in life now, digitally, right? We had some common friends on Instagram and they were talking about the stuff that we were both doing to each other. And it was just funny. So then we connected about working together on an episode. So obviously you were talking to KP from the Morning Formation, and I was talking to Jenna, the millennial veteran. And so it's just funny how once the circles start interacting, it really does have a synergistic effect to it.
Definitely. And Jenna and KP are just some awesome veterans that are doing amazing things like yourself, just to, be a voice for the veteran community. So
Yeah,
I'm just
I agree.
appreciative to know you all.
Yeah, no, I feel the same way. We talk a lot about social support here and how relationships with people are really a force multiplier. Like if there's a problem, like we were just talking about before we started recording, if there's something that I know, consider it at your disposal, as you were expressing the same to me. And those type of relationships move beyond just the individuals. I know somebody that could probably help you with some problem in some future outcome, right? And the reciprocal is true with you as well. And so our relationships that we have with each other really are synergistic. They really are a force multiplier. They create more capital for both parties. Yeah.
Definitely. And it's really about, creating that community where we support one another. And
Yeah.
that's pretty much it works that way. When you have a community of people that supports one another, and you really want to support, you do, you share and, you help one another to see each other grow. So I love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. And I will buy something if I know that a veteran is the owner of the business, right?
Mhm.
That's just, I guess that's who we are. That's our culture.
Mhm.
And I'm just saying tap into that more generally speaking, because there are just so many relationships that you can cultivate out there within the veteran identity that can really be a great service for your life. Yeah.
Definitely. Like you said, with supporting veterans, I found out one of the coffee shops in my area is a veteran owned and a woman veteran. And
Mm,
so whenever I have the opportunity, if I want to go to the coffee shop, I make sure I try to go over there and,
right.
spend my dollars there.
Yeah. I think one of our first conversations, I kind of brought that up to you. I feel like female vets do a little bit better job of attending to those kind of details than we do. You guys tend to band together. It seems about a little bit stronger. Us male vets are just kind of like la la la, just
You
rolling
think
through our
so?
lives, right? Yeah,
Well, I see, and I think the opposite because, when I go to the VFW or I go to a lot of
mm.
veteran events, there are more male veterans there than women veterans.
Oh yeah, sure. Well,
You know,
there's more of us. Period. That
true,
could be why. Yeah,
true, but we have to find different ways to connect. And, like I said, I have to kind of look out and seek women veterans versus there being organizations that are, well established, that's there, that like the VFW, like I said, I think I went to an event around Christmas, and I'm trying to think how many women were there. There were probably like three of us. So,
See, all right. So that makes more sense to me now. I may just be looking at what's available online
mhm,
versus these pillars of the veteran community, so to speak. But
mhm.
as you, did you and Jenna kind of talk about this as well? Our
Yes.
like Gen Xers and Millennials and
Hmm.
the ones behind us probably will be the same. We're not using the VFW to the same rates as veterans before us did.
Yes, and me and Jenna was talking about that offline, and we were talking about like, when I go places, or when I was in uniform and someone thanked me for my service, or if it was at the airport and someone's carrying a sign, most of the time it was like, I would say maybe they're baby boomers or
Hmm.
older
Yeah.
that were, really engaged in community. Or if you go to a VFW, they're mostly older. And
Yeah.
so me and Jenna was talking about, our generation really passing the mantle and making sure that we carry on that legacy of supporting the veterans that follow behind us.
Yeah. Like I said, what I really enjoyed about the conversation with Jenna is using technology or just digital approaches to as a conduit for gathering veterans of all different places together is
Hmm.
something that's probably going to be the future.
Yeah.
As we've all gone through COVID now, COVID is something that is a paradigm shift. We're not
Hmm.
going to do things uh, exactly the same as we did before COVID, as
Exactly.
because of some of just more of the social changes that happen as a result of the pandemic. And I
Hmm.
think that Jenna is being really innovative and proactive in her
Hmm.
approach to using technology to cultivate relationships within the veteran identity in just a different way. Maybe this will be something that the VFW will look at and see, wow, we really need to start utilizing these type of approaches within
Hmm.
our recruitment tools, because honestly, the handful of times I've had interactions with the VFW, they were like older men, like in their 60s and 70s.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And I would say that is something to really consider, the technology, because some veterans, well, most veterans don't like to be out and about.
Mm,
So you have an event, veterans are not going to necessarily go. Like for me, um, I don't really like going to different, every once in a while I may go to something,
yeah.
but I prefer online. If it's a virtual event, I can show up
Yeah.
because I could still be in the comfort of my home. I don't
Mm,
have to go out. My anxiety, is not going to be an issue because I'm at home. And so I think people are starting to feel more comfortable in these online communities where they're able to come together. They can still get the support. They can still get that sense of community without feeling like, oh man, I got to get dressed. I got to now
yeah.
drive over here. And now there's going to be a lot of people. I go through that all the time. Like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, do I really want to go? Oh my goodness. It sounds good on paper, but oh my gosh, I don't feel like doing it. So,
Well, yeah. And this is going to sound silly
mhm,
to some, but there are people who their entire social network
mhm,
is based on like online game communities. That's
mhm,
how they've connected. Most of them, or they'll find out that they're still both veterans, and that's how they end up playing these games together. And that's how they interact, is through this digital space.
mhm,
And I really believe that there's some real powerful connections that you can make even through technology and digital connections that are different from previous generations, mainly because they didn't have it available to them. They probably would have
mhm.
interacted in the same way if they had the same level of technology that we do today. But I'm just saying that the paradigms are shifting.
Yes.
And in saying that, so let's backtrack a little bit. Let's talk about your time in the uniform. So walk me through, what year did you go in? What year did you go out? What was your job? All the deets.
These okay. Well, I it was during the recession. I decided to join the military. I was turning 30. I was about to turn. I was like 2 months away from turning 39.
Oh, Lord. Right.
Yes, yes, and I kind of prayed about it before I jumped in, and I felt led that, okay, this is what I was supposed to do.
Hmm.
But I had always wanted to join the military since high school, but something kept coming up that, like I couldn't go at that time. And then
Hmm.
somehow I end up, doing it. The recession happened, and someone said, oh, they're taking people up to 42. And I was like, yes. And so I went ahead and went. I enlisted as an aviation operations specialist, and so it's kind of equivalent to like air traffic control. You
Hmm.
work with them, with the pilots. I did flight ops, so working with the pilots as they come and bring in their flight plans, kind of have to get it authorized. They communicate with me if they're going up, going down, where they're going, and then I make sure the tower gets that information. So it was pretty cool. I did it for almost 8 years. I uh, went to Afghanistan, served 9 months, OEF, lost some battle buddies there, and so it's been a journey. I end up leaving there and going to Germany, and I end up getting. It was there. I was there for 3 years, and I end up getting a traumatic brain injury from a head-on collision, and so that kind of led me to go to Walter Reed, where I end up getting or Fort Belvoir, end up going, that sent me to Walter Reed to get brain therapy.
Yeah.
And so that kind of led me to be medically retired from the military. So
Yeah.
as I say, they're like, you don't have to go home, but you got to get up out of here.
Yeah. That's funny. I went into the uniform a little later in life as well. I
Hmm.
turned 24 in basic,
Okay.
and the recession is what led me to the uniform as well. At the time, the job that I was in was just drying up on the vine. There was just not a lot of opportunity left in my little
Hmm.
hometown anyway.
Hmm.
And I just said, well, now's the time to do something drastic and do something different, to change my station in life, because I was from a pretty modest family in East Tennessee, and it was time to make some changes if I was going to be the person in life that I truly wanted to be. The time was now. And so
Yes.
I made that decision. So I can relate to that. But I'm curious now, because I felt so, well, old while in the uniform, while especially while I was in basic, because everybody just treated me like I was the old man, and I was 24. So I can only imagine that the recruits that you were around in basic had to look at you like, what happened to this lady? Why is she here? Right?
Yeah, grandma. I was
Yeah.
grandma. So
Yeah.
I was like the one that you always wanted to compete with. You wanted to make sure that I didn't get ahead on the runs or anything, because then they're going to be like, you mean to tell me that old lady Williams beat you? Oh no. So you just didn't want to be behind me. You
That's
behind me.
funny. Yeah.
So, and then it's interesting because I was thinking, I would see young girls and they would fracture their hips and they'd be like 18, 19. And
Mm.
I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going on 39. This girl fractured her hip. I'm a goner. It's just a matter of time.
I guess
but
you have solid stock. That's what it is, right? Yeah.
but someone told me the reason why I was probably good is because my generation, we played outside.
Oh, see, now there's shots fired, shots fired.
I'm just saying that's what heard.
Because
They
I definitely grew up outside. I will tell
okay.
you that.
So
Yeah.
you don't count, but it's just for
No,
those
maybe.
that the ones who play video games stay in the house and don't play. Like we played kickball,
Yeah.
dodgeball. We did a lot of things outside. We couldn't come back in until to the
The
sun.
sun came down. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well,
So
we were just too poor to have gaming consoles. Maybe that's my excuse. There was no Nintendo to be had whenever I was growing up. Yeah.
yeah, I think I don't even think Atari counts because most of the video games they were, ooh, like I'm about to tell my age,
Like you
but I
playing
know
Pong.
We had Nintendo, but
Yeah.
I was well in my 20s when Nintendo came out.
Mm.
So yeah, I think I was in my, yeah. So that didn't
That's all
count.
right. Everybody's already doing the math anyway. When you said you were 39 at the recession, they're like,
Yeah,
oh,
the
wait, me.
recession kind of, give or
Yeah.
take, subtract a couple of years, she's probably between.
Yeah, but I'm just going to tell you, because you told me your age, and I was like, get the heck out of here, man. Like, here you are. Like, you are aging far more graceful than I am. I guess that's because I've burned the candle at both ends quite a bit in my life. But
No, no, not at
no,
all.
I'm kidding. I'm speaking in jest. But let's talk a little bit about when you were medically retired.
Mhm,
Now, we've talked a couple of times to people who felt as if they had less control over
mhm.
their decision to get out of the military. And you told your joke, you don't have to stay, or you don't have to go, but you can't stay here.
Mhm.
That's got to kind of be a different level of approaching transition whenever you're kind of told time to go.
Mhm. I would say it was, us as human beings, we kind of map our life out. And I was like, okay, I'm going to join the military. I'm going to do this. Matter of fact, I saw myself doing even another enlistment. And matter of
Mm,
fact, I was considering, should I stay in, stay out? But, as human beings, we want to be in control of our life, or at least we think we're in control of our life and what
yeah,
happens. So I thought I had it mapped out and I was going to maybe do another enlistment or maybe just stay in and retire. But when something happens unexpectedly and you have to get out, it changes things. And then when you experience a traumatic injury or
mm,
any kind of injury, and you're not the same person you used to be,
yeah,
you can go through, and I went through a really dark place of trying to figure out who I was now. Like I have this traumatic brain injury. I wanted to get a PhD.
mm,
I wanted to get a PhD. I wanted to do this. I wanted to do that. But I had some challenges that I can't. Now I'm out the military. Now, what do I do now?
yeah,
And so getting out the military is always a challenge for veterans when they get out. There's the psychological challenges that we go through when we get out, but added the component of getting out with now a disability that you
yeah,
didn't expect to have. And, and trying to figure out who you are. I went through a mourning, I guess you could say a mourning process,
yeah,
because I had to figure out who's the new person. I used to be very dependent, didn't ask anyone, like high speed, just always, you know, just on the go,
yeah,
always doing things. And then I had to start asking people for help. I had to
right.
start doing, I needed people more.
Mm,
I wasn't the person that you could call on for things. So I became a different person in that I wrestled with that. And the sooner that I could actually come to grip that I was a new person, a different person, and have grace with myself being that new person, then I was able to rest in this new person and what my new purpose and new chapter of my life was going to look like. But I fought the old version of me and the new version. I wanted to go back to who I used to be.
right.
And that's where I got stuck. And
Yeah,
that's where, getting stuck in that really could be dark, because you're thinking your body, your mind wants to still be that old person who's sharp and this and that.
yeah,
And every time you go back to it, your body's like, oh, you're not that sharp. There's always something that says, no, you're not that person anymore. And
yeah,
so if this once I released that and just had grace, like, yeah, you're gonna forget, you're gonna do this, you do that. We used to have me in tears if I forget something or if this happened or that happened.
yeah.
Today I had an appointment It was at 10, and I wrote it down and forgot to put it in my calendar, and so I missed the appointment.
Yeah.
So I know I have to be in the moment now to write those things down.
Yeah.
And so that kind of, learning how to adapt to the new person
Yeah.
was everything.
Those little workarounds for sure.
Hmm. Hmm.
You know, it's funny when you mentioned that. The first thing that I thought of is when you're enlisted.
Hmm.
First of all, you never really feel like you have that much control anyway, but
Hmm.
you tend to live fixated within the future.
Hmm.
Everything's the next duty station, the next enlistment, the next leave period, whatever it is. And I think one of the things that just all of us go through, we're so used to just setting our eyes to what's next that when we go out, there is no more of that. It slams and hits you right in the face.
Hmm.
And to your point, there is this mourning period that we all have to go through. You get a little bitter, even maybe a little, um, I don't know, a certain je ne sais quoi about the military, just generally speaking, the culture. You won't have no part of it, right?
Hmm.
I just
Hmm.
that's the way I felt, and I've heard others convey that. So you're absolutely right. I can't imagine adding in another level to that.
Hmm.
Um, but to your point, something that you may find this surprising is when you talk about going back to yourself before your accident versus
Hmm.
now.
Hmm.
I know that there's a ton of veterans out there that may go, that doesn't apply to me.
Hmm.
But think about all the people out there that you've ever met that romanticize their time in the uniform.
Hmm. Hmm.
They completely put on rose colored glasses. They go like, I remember I was this and I was that when they were in the uniform. And oftentimes it's not very accurate.
Hmm.
So there's a certain nostalgia that we all have for our time in uniform, this good old days or whatever that even though we could have been miserable in the moment,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
after we look back and go, oh yeah, that was the best time of my life, right? But you didn't feel that way at the time. I know you didn't, and I think we all go through that process of looking back and feeling disheveled from what we used to be. We look at the transition as some great divide of the purpose we once had, now we have none.
Hmm. Can I add something?
Sure, it's why you're
So,
here.
so the typical, veteran. So let's say the typical veteran is like planning to get out, and they want to
Mm,
get a job, and they want to do X, Y, and Z, or maybe some don't plan, and
mm.
that's the problem. A lot of them, when they get out, they don't plan. Well, the thing with me is, I had a plan.
It
You
was
know,
taken. Yeah.
I had a plan. I already had my MBA. I've
Mm,
already did 20 years, and I knew what I needed to do. I
yeah.
knew how to getting a job was not going to be a problem. Matter
Mm,
of fact, I was recruited to be a director of a veteran organization.
yeah.
So that wasn't a problem. It's my resume was awesome, but it's because of my injuries and things that
Yeah.
I had going on, I just didn't feel that I could work at that capacity at
Yeah.
the moment because I was still going through brain therapy. And so that's different. It's a little different than your
Oh no,
typical,
for
you know what I'm
sure.
saying?
I was just saying that resonates. That feeling may
Hmm.
be more applicable to vets than they realize. Is
Yes.
that feeling of being in competition of who you
Hmm.
used to be
Yes.
and not feeling as if you're meeting that standard anymore. That's
Hmm.
You're absolutely right. I think I had a plan getting out. It was a poor conceived plan,
Hmm.
but I had
Hmm.
a plan. But yeah, I'm not I'm not equating the two in any
Oh, yes,
capacity.
yes.
It was just I think that those of us out there that may be listening, they may connect with what you just said in a different way
Yes.
once they see, well, yeah, actually, you know what, I know exactly what it's like to feel like I'm in competition with this ghost,
Hmm.
somebody I'm not
Hmm.
anymore. It's
Yes.
just it's not me anymore. Yeah.
Yes, and especially that person that's disabled,
Mm-hmm.
that disabled veteran who may have challenges, maybe it's mental health or
Mm-hmm.
physical or anyway, it that is that component, that extra component, it's a different layer because you will go through that transition of, especially if you spent all of your life in the
Mm-hmm.
military
Yeah.
and and you're getting out and you're like, oh my gosh, what is my next chapter of my life is going to be.
Yeah.
We all go through that, whether it's an
Yeah.
injury or not. Um, but then when you add that the person that that may be in the audience that have that component of, oh my gosh, I'm disabled, I have these different challenges. And so what I did was connect with different organizations.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started, for me, I was like, what do I need? How can I, from what I have, my abilities that I have now, what can I do to have purpose?
Mm-hmm.
So I had to identify what my strengths were.
Yeah.
um, I knew that I couldn't be in isolation. I knew that it was very depressing, not being the same person I used to be. And so I wanted to create a community where I brought people together of similar interests, where we push each other in our areas of purpose and gifts. And as a result, it helped me, and then it helps someone else. And they say, if you want to help someone, if you want to help yourself, help someone else.
Yeah.
Because somehow, as you're helping others, you get out of your mind or your head of just thinking about yourself.
Right.
You're
Yeah.
looking at how you can help someone else. And the more you talk to various people, you realize that you're there's someone else that's just like, oh my gosh, I can relate to her. Oh, I thought I was the only one. And that's the thing. So many times as veterans, we think we're the only ones. And when you're in isolation and you're not in community with people, you um you push yourself away further and further. And that's why we have such high numbers of suicide and things like
Mm-hmm.
that. We're so that's why I say community is very important. Bringing
Yeah.
people together and having each other. I always say we have your six.
Yeah.
And like being present in someone's life, even if I can't be present in everybody in She Vets It life, I have people that I check in on, or they check in on me. And
Yeah.
so we, if I'm feeling down and they are inspiring me, I'm inspiring them. We just, we have each other's six to keep each other from just falling into that dark space that, we can go.
Yeah. That resonates with me a lot.
Mhm.
For a variety of different reasons, but I told you before we started recording about my affiliation with Military Broadcast Radio.
Mhm.
And Joel Hunt is the founder of Military Broadcast Radio, who has a traumatic brain injury himself.
Mhm.
And he reported, or he talked about, when he got out, he felt like a parasite.
Mm.
He just felt like he didn't have any use anymore.
Mhm. Mhm.
And, that's how he got into the downhill skiing, which became his Paralympic sport. And to that same token, Military Broadcast Radio became his community that he established to reconnect with a sense of purpose and meaning in life after the uniform again. He built his own connections
Mhm.
through Military Broadcast Radio. And it sounds largely that's what you're describing with She Vets It as well, is you knew what the bones were. You just had to assemble them, right?
Yes.
And in that process of assembling your connections, you're able to put yourself in other people's positions, take their perspectives. And once you start doing that, you start to realize that, maybe my shit's not that bad. Or maybe I can help them and they can help me. There's a reciprocal relationship that you form with people,
Mhm.
and the load cumulatively starts to lighten because there are so many people now who are invested in your outcome, right?
Yes.
And I think that's one of the powerful things about social relationships is when people become invested in you, they're stakeholders in your success.
Mhm. exactly. And they kind of like hold you accountable.
Mm,
And so here's the thing, it's like they're my accountability partners
mm,
because I have, if I'm showing up and I bring someone speaking on mental health and boundaries and
yeah,
taking care of yourself and things, I have to practice that too.
yeah,
I just can't come just any old way and expect people to listen to my speakers and then I'm not growing in those areas too.
yeah,
And I've gained so much within the last year. I've learned so much and grown. Um, I always say that the Bossy commercial, the Hair for Men commercial. He said, "Not only am I the founder, but I'm a user."
no, yeah, I remember. Is that a bald joke? Are you subtly
No,
working in
no,
a
I'm
bald?
sorry.
I'm
No,
kidding.
no
I'm
pun
just
intended.
teasing. I'm not sensitive about it. I am just kidding.
Look, I
Yeah,
was saying that before I met you.
yeah, that's all right.
but
Like I shaved my head like when I was 20. Honey, I've been this way for a long time.
no.
I've heard all the jokes. Yeah.
Well, I said that. I always say that because I said I like when people come, I'm learning from my guest speakers as well.
Mm,
So I'm not just, I have She Vets It, but I'm learning so much for those that come and willing to pour into the community
yeah.
of veterans. So I'm very appreciative, and She Vets It is not, it's, it's what it is because of people that are willing to donate their time and expertise to come on and talk. And then also, I'm just appreciative because it's people that are willing to support the vision that I have to build a community so that we have
Yeah.
something. Yes.
Yeah. So let's unpack that a little bit. So
Okay.
we've kind of circled She Vets It. So how long is it? How long have you been doing She Vets It?
Whew. Well, I 2018, but I was doing it was more as a meetup group.
Mm,
And so it was a very small meetup group. And I think I shared with you the day I received my DD 214. An actor in Hollywood, media consultant, contacted me to attend a taping at the Kennedy Center for a live taping of ABC. And
mm,
so he was supporting, he was talking about his book and he was giving portion of the proceeds of his book to wounded warriors. So I just thought that was just interesting the day I received my DD 14. But then I constantly was having people constantly connect with me to like, hey, we would love to have your group join us for X, Y, and Z. I had PBS contacted me. There are different people. And so I'm like, maybe this is what I'm supposed to be doing. So then I just started, slowly but surely sharing resources online. And then within the last year or two, I started going live and having
mm.
different guests. So these same organizations that would be in my box, hey, can you disseminate this to your audience? Now when I do my lives, I'm now interviewing these veteran organizations that are doing amazing things. Like Thursday, I have a representative from the PGA of America, which is Professional Golf Association. They'll be my guests and talk about a program that they have, and that is PGA Hope. And they provide free 6 to 8 week training for veterans, and they incorporate the physical, emotional needs of that veteran. And so it's a great program. So I have Aaron Scanlon, who will be one of our guests to explain more about it.
Can I ask you something? Do you know anything about imposter syndrome?
Yes, I do.
Right. So one of the things, for those of you listening who are less familiar with imposter syndrome, but it's this internal feeling as if you're not suitable to be speaking about a particular issue or in a particular job or a profession. And the reason why I ask you that is I suffer from that at times. And I know that a lot of the voices that I hear out there speaking about veterans issues, they have communicated feeling that way as well. And because you're talking about, you're actually you're a pillar of the veteran community in your own little corner. And I know that I try to encourage veterans out there to be stakeholders in the veteran community as well,
Mhm.
to get out there and be a voice, live out in front, escape the shadow, go out and endure the light, and be leaders in the community. And
Mhm.
the reason why I ask you that is people who are listening, they may go, well, yeah, but that was easy for her. No, it's the same. We feel the same discomfort. All of us do whenever we're put in these positions of being responsible to act. And I just wanted to put that into context for anybody who's listening. We
Mhm.
all feel that way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, you would think I've ran a chamber of commerce.
Mm,
I've sat on panels with Hollywood and Los Angeles chambers, teaching other chambers and how to run a chamber before I joined the military.
yeah.
But after getting injured and getting out, I suffered with imposter syndrome because of my injuries. Sometimes my word search,
Yeah.
being able to find the right words to use or say, I'm a lot better than maybe if you listen to me last year from now or
Yeah.
the year before last. I'm getting a lot better,
Mm,
but I had to put myself out there. So I had
mm,
to do it. I'm still not where I'm supposed to be, but what they say, you have to do it until you do it bad. Continue to do it badly until you're able to
yeah.
do it perfect. And
Yeah.
so many people don't want to do it because people are afraid to stumble and make mistakes. And I've had moments like, oh my gosh, that was horrible.
Yeah.
But I felt like but I had women that really pushed me out there that, and I was like, I don't want to do this. This is, I didn't feel like I was capable to do it. Although my resume say I
Mm,
am, and although my
right.
past experience, my old self was able,
Yeah.
but now I had to embrace who I am now, my imperfect self. If I make a mistake or if I stumble over my words or something, I'm just going to be my authentic self. Someone say, "Oh, she's not the perfect public speaker, and why is she out there doing?" Well, you know what? That's okay. I'm just going to be who I am.
Yeah.
I know what my limitations, but this is what I'm called to do, and this is what I'm supposed to do. I'll keep
Yeah.
doing it until I perfect it, until I'm more comfortable, until it's even better. And
Yeah.
so, with having the community of women that I have, and people like yourself and KP and others that where we're willing to help each other and give each other's tips on how to be better and how to be better at this and that. That is what I'm appreciative of. And I just say, do it bad, do it bad,
Yeah.
so you could do it right. That's the only way. And don't take yourself so serious that you like, oh, it got to be perfect.
Right. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I didn't. No, just be you and just do it. Just do it. Like Nike said, just do it.
Yeah. It's funny. I talk about my affection for the guitar,
Hmm.
and I just say choose something to suck a little less at every day, right? But in
Yes.
but embrace the fact that you're not obviously going to be you're not going to be Jimi Hendrix running straight out the first time you plug in your guitar. And despite as we had to start the recording over because I felt like I messed up, but despite that, this is pretty good conventional wisdom is you need to be in a state of discomfort in order to grow. That's the only way to expand your territory into new adventures is to be willing to put yourself into a sense of discomfort. And that's what we kind of talk about a lot here is that's where growth happens.
Exactly. And but like I said, that was part of my healing process. It was, being feeling like I was articulate,
Mm,
back then. And then now my words sometimes, and I had a little moment just a second, but you guys probably couldn't, I don't know if you could tell, but I'll get stuck. So no one, but I'm okay with it. And I had to accept me for who I am. I had to give myself grace. Hey, Althea, you've been through a lot. You've experienced a lot. and you're pushing yourself and you're doing things so out of your comfort zone.
Mm.
And you know what I learned from someone said, you need to talk about what your TBI taught me. And my TBI taught me self-love, self-care, and being compassionate with myself. And I don't know if I shared with you, but New Year's Day, I went to the store and bought myself flowers.
Mm.
And
Yeah,
I
you
bought
did
myself
mention that. Yeah.
yeah, I bought myself flowers and I was like, you've been through a lot. You endured a lot. You put yourself out there. Last year I put myself out there. I've made mistakes and I've done so many different things. But you know what? I'm proud of you because you made a step and you survived. You're still here. You didn't quit. You didn't give up. And
Mm.
and I was sharing with one of my sons, he's in college, and he's like, he didn't get the best grade on one of his classes.
Mm.
And so many times we want our kids and everyone, you got to be perfect at X, Y, and Z, and you got to do this and that. And I don't mean to put him out there like that, but he didn't get the grade that he want, but
Yeah.
he did good. He got accepted to a really good school, and he he already shared he was having that transition of, this is a change from going from here to here. So he struggled with that. But I said, you know what? Do something nice for yourself because guess what? You got accepted this year to a good college. And
Mm.
yes, there were challenges. You were in an environment that you were still trying to figure yourself out in this new environment. But guess what? You still pass.
Mm. Yeah.
But whatever those mistakes you made along the way, just think about, okay, what can I do next time? But
Yeah.
congratulate yourself. And so for me, I put myself out there. I wasn't perfect. I went through a lot of things that triggered me last year, but I survived. I pushed through those dark days that I wanted to quit and wanted to give up, but I kept pushing. And so self love last year, what I did with self care was that when I feel like I'm in the darkest place, get up, take a shower. Get up,
Mm.
take a shower. Not, well, if there's fellows on there, I was going to say, I put on makeup or do something, do my hair, do something, wear the new clothes, wear the new shoes, wear those sport shoes that you say you only wear on special occasions.
Mm.
I, I started doing things like that, and it didn't match with how I was feeling, which
Mm.
actually made me, the way I looked, my mind had to catch up with how I was feeling according
Mm.
to how I looked.
Yeah. You know, there's a couple of things. So, I'm sorry. Can you hear that echo?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so it sounds like it's coming through your computer. Um, when one, for example, can just adjust their body posturing, the neurochemistry responds, right? So when there's, of course, we've all just said, get back up, throw your shoulders back, and go face the day. Well, there's actually something that happens in your brain chemistry when you do that. Your serotonin levels respond to that. So it sounds like that's what you're describing in a different way is do something that puts yourself out there and makes you feel good, and your body chemistry will adjust accordingly, right?
Yes, yes.
But something you said that reminded me of something I struggle with a lot is we're only ever reminded of our most recent experience. So we lose track of how much progress we've made across time. So to your point, your son compares himself to the last grade he made.
Mhm,
But if he looked across how many grades he had,
mhm.
he would not see that last grade as a big deal because we have this recency bias. We only fixate on the most immediate feedback. And I think that's something that we all struggle with, just humanity generally, but veterans may be a little bit more prone to it.
Mhm.
Because I would say that people within the military are driven to achieve. We have a high achieving type of personality. Now, I don't want to paint with a too broad of a brush, but I would say that the type of personalities that are attracted to military service have a certain type of ambition to them.
Mhm.
And they want to be high achievers to some strike.
Mhm.
So those type of personalities may be particularly prone to comparing themselves to their most immediate campaign, right? The last thing that they endured. And that can be really detrimental to our overall sense of well-being and accomplishment, because we're not seeing ourselves in the totality. We're only seeing what's happened in the most immediate sense. So
Exactly.
that's just something that kind of resonated with me whenever you were talking about your son, and then the incremental steps that you take to get better at something.
Yes.
You have to put that into perspective, that you don't, to put it to my analogy, I don't compare myself to the most recent chord that I learned on the guitar.
Mhm.
I need to also be aware of how terrible of a player I was at the very beginning, the first time I picked up the guitar. Yeah.
Exactly. That's beautifully said. Like I said, I shared with my son, like, you were accepted to a really cool school.
Yeah.
And so, yes, you're adjusting to the college life and different things and trying to figure yourself out. And this is a new change for you, a life change for you. So, give yourself grace.
Mm.
Now, if you're just there, just goofing off and you're getting bad grades here and there and you're just not just caring, that's one thing. But if you're trying and you're managing work and you're managing different things, give yourself grace that you had a lot on your plate and you were still trying to figure out how to get accustomed to this new campus.
Yeah. And something else that I think generally applies here, and you may want to share with whoever you
Mhm.
find it appropriate, is there's two ways to evaluate progress. It's
Mhm.
by performance and by learning. Okay. Performance is totally fixated on success. That's it.
Mhm.
So when you're doing to an academic capacity, you only want to make an A. That's it.
Mhm. Mhm.
So you may take courses that you're more familiar with, you're more comfortable with, so that you make sure you get an A, right? But
Mhm. Mhm.
learning takes you putting yourself out there. It takes a certain risk. You may absolutely not get as high of a grade as you may have been if you would have taken something that was a little bit more in your comfort zone. But
Mhm.
damn it, don't you learn, right? And I
Mhm.
think that just a small reframe. If you're okay with failing, that's whenever you're going to learn, because
That part.
we make mistakes, we get better from that process. But if you're only going to be fixated on performance, you're going
Mhm.
to end up staying in your safety zone and
Mhm.
never getting to the point where you are at risk of failing.
Exactly. And that, like I said, I remember hearing uh, Oprah talk about Barbara Walters and how that was
Mm.
her idol for, her mentor for doing what she'd do. And she said she was so busy trying to be like her and looking at herself of who she was compared to who Barbara Walters was, that she made mistakes. And so
Oh, I
she
think we got a
learned.
little bit of a disconnection there.
Oh, can you hear me
So
now?
I can hear you now.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So yeah, so she talked about how just looking, she learned it was a moment when she said Connecticut, and
Mm.
she learned how to, like, hey, I'm just gonna be who I am. And, if I make a mistake and not try to measure myself up with anyone else, I'm not gonna
Yeah.
measure myself up with anyone else. And be comfortable in my skin with whatever I don't call it my disability, but I call
Yeah.
my ability, different ability.
Yeah.
So not have my disability limit me to what I can and cannot do. Look at what my gifts and my talent is, and work on that. Because so many veterans think that once they get out and they can't figure out life outside of the uniform, they forget that they still have these skills that are very transferable, and
Mm.
it's just a matter of translating that into civilian terms. But
Yeah.
that's why so many companies like to target veterans, because they know we're resilient, we're discipline. And so, so just know that you have something, regardless if you have a disability or not. Like your friend Hunt, Mr. Hunt,
Mhm.
he had a TBI, I myself, and we just looked at what our skill sets were, and we're like, okay, where can I help in society? How can I fit in? And then you just focus on that and move in that direction.
Yeah. And I think there's a fine line.
Hmm.
Using a mentor to kind of orient yourself by seeing someone who's already ascended to the heights that you would like to, and utilizing them as a model to frame your life by
Hmm.
is not quite the same as saying, I need to be this person in every sense of the word, right?
Hmm.
You
Hmm.
can follow a path that they've laid out without losing your own self in it as well. Is you don't, Oprah Winfrey, although I find it ironic I'm talking about Oprah, um,
Hmm.
could have never have been Barbara Walters.
Hmm.
But Barbara Walters probably gave her some conventional wisdom just by her example as she ascended her heights, right?
Yes.
And I think that's important to think about too. Is mentors are not supposed to be an exact replica of who you are, right? They're just
Exactly.
supposed to give you a framework. Yeah.
Hmm. I like that, the framework. And so I think I heard, I was actually in Unbreakable Stories on Clubhouse, this is the Clubhouse app, and there's a gentleman, uh, Mr. Thompson. He has that room, and he had uh, an audio of the some of the motivational speaking from
Mhm.
different individuals, and that was one that came on, and that just resonated with me because of her talking about that being imperfect,
Yeah.
and trying to measure yourself up to others. And for me, that imposter syndrome of like not feeling, am I able to do it, am I ready to do it?
Yeah.
You have everything you need to do what you need to do, and if that's your calling or your purpose to do it, those things will align.
Yeah.
The connections will align. You'll figure it out. Just take a step, take one step. As some people may say, the universe will tell you,
Yeah.
will bring the resources to you, or the information, or they say when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. So just do it scared. I think Will Smith says, do it scared. um, and then do it badly.
Yeah.
Hey, just do it, and
Yeah.
then perfect it along the way.
So we talk a lot about self-efficacy here as well, which is the belief in yourself to handle whatever the environment throws at you.
Hmm.
And that's kind of what we're circling here as well, is self-efficacy is a muscle just like anything else, and it has to be built up across many different repetitions. And so you don't start off just believing, hell yeah, I can do this. It's
Hmm.
those little incremental baby steps that you take to get a little bit more confidence in your ability to be able to handle things. But yet again, it takes putting yourself out there to really
Yes.
build self-efficacy, and to do it scared, and just
Hmm.
understand that you may fall, you may stumble, but you have the strength within to handle that too. Yeah.
Yes, and I was going to say too, that's why community is so important,
Mm-hmm.
because when you find your tribe of women, a tribe of people that support you as an individual, they're going to push you past your comfort zone. They're not going to
Mm-hmm.
let you stay in the area of your comfort zone. Like for
Yeah.
me, if you told me last year I would be on a podcast, I was like, oh, I don't feel like doing all that. But
Me
then
too.
yeah, yeah. So,
Yeah.
but I had other people like Althea, like, I know you're always pushing the rooms and the different speakers, but you never put anything about who you are and what. And I'm like, well, it's not about me, it's about the community.
Mm-hmm.
But they're like, well, people want to know who you are. So, with that, my tribe and my community pushed me to be more of a voice. So, I say that's why it's so important to find a community of people that share similar interests, that are not going to let you settle for the bare minimum, not going to let you settle in being feeling like an imposter. They're going to tell
Yeah.
you, you have the skill set, you can do this, you got this. They're cheering
Yeah.
you on, and they're letting you know, like, hey, we
Yeah.
got you, we believe in you. And it's vice versa. It's not just me, but it's me. I just love it now. I've seen so many women that started with She Vets It, and I just could see how they have blossomed along the way. I see them that from then to now. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is just so awesome to see, how we're all just growing together in different areas of our
Yeah.
lives.
So to your point, there's essentially two types of social support. And then I want you to tell where people can find She Vets It.
Okay.
But there is informational social support, in which is just exactly what it sounds like, information on how to do something. And then there is esteemed social support, in which you just feel accepted by other people. Of course, the most powerful is a marrying of those two ideas, where
Mhm.
you're providing somebody with information to do something, but also encouraging them as well, and letting them feel that you're creating an environment where risks are okay, and that we got your back. We'll help you if you fail, right? So tell everybody where they can find She Vets It, and where are all the social medias, and when's the next event you got coming up?
Okay. I would say you can find, well, the website is www.shevetsit.com. Um, where you would see a lot of things that I have going on is on Instagram,
Hmm.
that you can follow me at she_vets_it. I'm on Clubhouse. It's the Clubhouse app. It's an audio only app. And also, most of the things that I do are related onto YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. So you can find, but if you really, really want to stay connected in what I'm doing, I use my main source is Instagram. This coming Thursday, I do have a PGA of America represented for the PGA Hope. That's uh, Erin Scalone, who will be our guest speaker and talk about some programs that she has for veterans for golf. And it's a 6 to 8, I think I shared earlier, 6 to 8 week program that is helpful. And so every other Thursday, I have a different veteran organization that may have mental health support or retreats or
Hmm.
different programs, fishing, or different organizations that you may have not known of. I usually like to bring them on Thursday. I call it bridging the gap between veterans and veteran organizations and resources.
Sure.
There's just some great programs out there. So that's how you can reach me.
Fantastic. Is there anything else you want to get to before we call it a day?
Well, I just want to thank you so much for what you do, Ryan, with Vet with the Mic. I thank you so much to your audience that are listening in, and just want to share those that may be challenging, still trying to find out who they are.
Hmm.
Give yourself grace. You've done a lot. You served your country. You've experienced a lot, but you made it to this far, and there's more for you. You have tons of skills, and that it can be used in so many ways. Just tap into it and just be encouraged, and
Hmm.
find your tribe. Find your tribe. Find people that will hold you accountable. People that won't let you quit, because we all want to quit at times. Sometimes I
Yeah.
know I want to quit with She Vets It sometimes. I know Ryan might say, I don't know about Vet with a Mic sometimes. We all have those
Yeah.
feelings, but don't quit, because you'll be surprised the people, whether it's on a platform like this, but it could be your niece, your nephew, someone who looks up to you and are glad that you're here. So I just want to share that.
Fantastic. Well said.
Thank you.
So, if you've enjoyed this conversation that we have had here with uh, the founder of She Vets It, and you would like to spread the word to others who think you may feel as if would benefit from a conversation such as this, please do. Because as we've kind of both been talking about here, we largely rely on the people that we have in our lives. We need your help spreading the good word about the missions that organizations like She Vets It does for the veteran community. If you have a topic or an interview that you would like to see done here on Vet with a Mic, please reach out to me. Let me know how I can help. You can reach me at vetwithamic.com. My email is ryan@vetwithamic.com. And as always, however life finds you, hope life finds you well. Till next time.